Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to the Wristwatch News channel. I'm Nick, and today we're going to be reviewing the Bettimer B8001, which is a homage of the Girard Perregaux Laureato, namely the 38mm copper version, which was a limited release, I believe, but this is 40mm, not 38. But the dial is based on that particular watch. If you're new to the channel, we like to review watches, watch accessories, and watch-related content. If that's your bag, then you're in the right place, and I welcome you. And if you're a returning subscriber, then of course, thank you as always for coming back. Much appreciated. The Bettimer does have stiff competition in the integrated bracelet market at the moment, as Cronos have just released their homage of the Zenith Skyline, and it's looking to be a bit of a banger and a little bit cheaper than the Bettimer as well. Does the Bettimer have enough going on to ignore that little higher price and also, of course, the brand name? Well, let's have a look at it and find out. What do you get if you buy a Bettimer? Well, you get an orange itty-bitty version of the case most Aliexpress's watches come in. I suppose it saves on cost being smaller. Does it still offer the same amount of protection? Not really. It does feel softer than the usual black cases, but it is fine for delivery purposes. Bettimer do call it waterproof packaging on their listing though, which I think is a bit of a stretch. So in the outer cardboard box that the itty bitty orange box was in, there was the international warranty card, which is signed, a user manual, and a branded polishing cloth. And then inside the actual orange case, we have a pretty decent screwdriver for the screwed links and the watch itself. We'll run for the stats now. So we've got a model number of B8, B for Bravo 8001, a case size of 40mm, a case thickness of 10.7mm. The crown is 5.7mm. You got an effective lug-to-lug, being an integrated bracelet, of 50.7mm, but it also wears a bit smaller because of that same integration. Lug width of 14.5mm if you're the type to seek out bracelet alternatives. And then the bracelet runs from 24mm at its widest point below the case to 17.5mm at the butterfly clasp. A single dome sapphire crystal with blue anti-reflective coating, 3 layers of which stated on the listing. Also stated on the listing is that it's using Swiss Superluminova BGW9 on the hands and indexes. Then it's got 100 meters of water resistance, a total weight of 150 grams, and a 2-year warranty. As mentioned in the intro, the Bettimer has got some competition. Cronos have got a couple of integrated bracelet homages out there already, the PRX being one, and now the Zenith. You can also get the 1140A from Sea-Gull. The Sea-Gull is a tad pricey though, being over $500. You can also buy the Baum and Mercier Riviera, a Swiss-made watch, secondhand for about under $1,000 if you look hard enough. And they do have a copper dial option. When I say copper, as Brown and Mercier seem to be a bit old-fashioned regarding their advertising, as they've got a 36mm range, and then they've got the men's marked as blue, unisex being silver, and then copper being ladies, or terracotta as they call it. From what I can see, they are all the same watch, same dimensions, but terracotta is for the ladies. Sorry, lads. So the case and bracelet of the B8001 is true to the watch it is homaging. It's got a fluid case design with seamless integration of the bracelet into the case, high polished chamfers running lug to lug either side of the case, top and bottom, horizontal brushing on the sides of the case, high polish initial ring which seats the brush, then octagon bezel which is a radial brushed on top, and high polish on the side. Horizontal brushing on the case and H-link bracelet gives both the case and bracelet an interesting glow that you don't get with a more standard vertical brushing on these types of watches, such as like the Christopher Ward 12, which I really like as it sets it apart from its competitors. The high polished chamfer from the top of the case carries on to the bracelet to the butterfly clasp, which has a laser etched Bettimer B. Double pusher butterfly clasp with milled innards. The bracelet is H-link as mentioned, with the center links being high polish. screwed links, and interestingly the threading is at the screw head rather than at the end, which I quite like. Solid case back with 6 screws holding it in place, a radial brush on the center point of the case back, and then a high polish around the circumference, etched with the brand name, model number, 10 ATM, water resistant, and sapphire crystal. The dial of the B8001 attempts to invoke the same copper tone of the Laureato, but it falls short having a more orange hue to it than you might want. But saying that, by having that orange hue, it sets itself apart from the Girard-Perregaux, making it more of a homage than a facsimile, which I personally prefer. A Cloud de Paris pattern on the main portion of the dial allows vary and play of light on those tiny little pyramids, while the depth and texture then allow the dial to have some life even when there's no light to catch. What I would call bullet indexes from 1 to 11, excluding then the unframed date window at 3, and a large Bettimer B, which is a little reminiscent of the Breitling B at 12, which on this colorway is in rose gold. Bettimer printed above the pinion and automatic below. The date window is actually very interesting to me, as on the GP, the date window is color matched to the outer portion of the dial. And Bettimer, I think, have again attempted to color match, but it's nowhere near matching any part of the dial. And at first I thought it was black, but I soon realized it's actually a very nice shade of brown leaning into a reddish hue, which I've got to say I really, really like. According to the listing, the B8001 sports a single block Swiss sapphire domed sapphire crystal with 3 layers of blue anti-reflective coating. You probably know my feelings on blue AR, and I have to say though, it's not too intrusive on this watch, so that's really nice to see. You get some interesting light play being a single dome sapphire as well at certain angles from the case, which I quite like. The hands are high polished wide pencil hands with a good amount of BGW9 lume in them. The second hand is painted like a fleshy color, again trying to replicate the color on the Girard-Perregaux, but not quite getting it. The second hand reaches all the way out to the minute track, which is printed in white on a brushed ring to offset against that Cloud de Paris of the main portion of the dial. Behind that case back is a PT 5000 movement from HK Precision Technology, which is a Chinese-made clone of the ETA 2824, and it's running at +7 seconds per day. We have a round screw-down crown, which is signed with the Bettimer B on an octagon to match the bezel. I ran a lume test over 10 minutes against the Lans TB, which also has BGW9 style lume. And I got to say, it's done really well for itself. The indexes were on their way out by the end of the test, but the hands were hanging on in there and perfectly legible after the 10-minute test. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, I love the copper orange dial. It's a nice change from the usual tones, and the Cloud de Paris is done really well. The finishing throughout the watch is actually just very good overall. And I really like the dial juxtaposition between the Cloud de Paris and the brushed outer minute track, and of course that brownish reddish date disc that they've used. The bad, the rose gold B doesn't quite match the copper orange tone of the dial, and to me doesn't quite fit. I feel it cheapens the watch actually, and I would have preferred it if it was silver to match the indexes. The screw down crown doesn't quite grab straight away on my model. I have to try a couple of times before it catches, which isn't awful, and there's not a lot of watches do that, but it does make me worry about the longevity of the threading. The ugly blue anti-reflective coating, I will admit though, it's not as intrusive on this watch, so it gets a bit of a pass. The brand name, I don't know. Hey guys, what should we call our watch brand? I don't know, Lee, why don't you just throw some darts at that board over there with random words on it? I'm guessing that's what must have happened when they were coming up with these names, because why Bettimer is such a odd name to use, but there we go. I will say it's not intrusive on the dial though, as it's printed small enough and in an ignorable font that you don't really notice it. You can buy the Bettimer B8001 currently for around $300 on Aliexpress. That's before adding any discounts and coins that you may have. The Cronos is around $240, so it's more expensive than the Cronos by about $60. But then the Cronos, although an integrated bracelet watch, is a very differently styled watch, so it does depend on your taste and your budget, I suppose. But speaking of budget, you know, you could pay $15,000 for the Girard Perregaux for the finishing, history, and provenance, or perhaps $5,000 for a brand new Baume & Mercier Riviera that I mentioned earlier. That runs an SW200, which is a Swiss clone of the ETA 2824. Baum has history as well, originally founded in 1830 and, you know, Swiss made. Or $300 for the Bettimer, no history, made in China with a Chinese-made movement. But then the eternal kicker, as always, is what are things worth to you? Is the Girard Perregaux worth $15,000 for its history, movement? It has got an 18-karat gold rotor mine, probably much better finishing. I haven't handled one, but I'm going to guarantee is probably better finishing. The brand new Baume & Mercier, though, is that worth $4,700 more than the Bettimer to have essentially Swiss made on the dial? And then is the Bettimer worth $60 more than the Cronos if you're really after that Girard Perregaux style? All right, that's it for today. Thank you for joining me for another review. Will the Bettimer now be moving into your purchase cart, or has the brand name killed Bettimer before they've even got off the ground? I will remind you that many of us used to buy watches with the name Parnis on them without any qualms not too long ago. I think Parnis are actually still going as well. I'm not sure. I'll have to check into that. Affiliate links to the Bettimer and other watches mentioned in this video will be in the description. Please consider using the links as it does help support the channel. And if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and comment what you think of the Bettimer. Is the brand name, does it just kill it for you straight away? Or is it something you could learn to live with, as I think I could? Well, that's it. Thanks, guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.